That's a good way to lead into our guest tonight, huh?
Always. We know how to start a party here.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome actor Dwight Turner to the program. Let me bring him in here. Welcome, Dwight. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Hey, thank you guys so much for having me. I can tell you guys have been working together for a while because you're so fun with one another. And wait, hold up that bottle again. Hold up that bottle of Bullet. By the way, that's made near me where I am right now. I'm in Kentucky at the moment, and that is, yeah, there you go. I've actually been there. I've been to the distillery.
It's on my bucket list.
You have boots on the ground to try to get you a sponsorship, Kyle. You've got to try to work your magic.
Every week, I make sure to let everybody know that I am drinking Bullet whiskey.
So how are you guys tonight?
Good, just surviving the heat like we were talking about before the show, and being pandemic locked down still, so it's kind of a crazy time a little bit.
It's tough. The world is in a very interesting place, and you think it's getting a little bit better, and then it starts to get worse again. And I'll tell you, I just hope that we can all get through this and end up in a better place in the not too far future, because I know for me, and I'm sure the majority of people out there, we all want to go back to doing what we were doing and living our lives again.
Kyle says no.
Never gonna happen.
I'll let everybody in on a little tidbit secret about me. I'm probably the only person on the planet that wishes the pandemic would last longer, because the longer it goes, the longer I get to work at home. And I love working at home, and I never want to have to go to an office ever again for the rest of my life. I love wearing basketball shorts to work, and I love going.
Whew, I know who you don't love. Old people.
All right. Well, you're in the minority. For the rest of us,
I'm in the 1%.
We want to go.
Yeah.
The first time you've ever been in the 1%.
Oh, man.
So you guys are all in Southern California.
No, we're in Arizona.
Arizona.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I said we're in Satan's butthole.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Arizona. Which part of Arizona?
The Phoenix area.
Oh, yeah.
The hot part.
Yeah, actually, I remember driving from Phoenix, on that long stretch towards the West Coast, and I just saw this most amazing sunset. It was absolutely beautiful.
Oh, that's pollution.
Yeah, it is. Last weekend, because of all the brush fires, that the sun was red and stuff, and the sky was smoggy. It was crazy.
We live in crazy times, like you said, Dwight.
We do.
So you've been in. I've been looking over your IMDb here, and I mean, you've been in a lot of stuff. Most recently, I stand here, Chicago Fire. Tell us a little bit about your experience on that sitcom, or that not sitcom, but program.
Well, Chicago Fire was a fantastic experience, and playing Dr. Mayberry on Chicago Fire remains one of my favorite projects that I've ever worked on. It's very interesting. We were just talking about me being back here in Kentucky. So I grew up in Kentucky. I lived a huge amount of my life in California working professionally. And then my mom's been going through some health issues. I came back here. And it's because I was back here that I ended up working with Chicago Fire. If I had been in Southern California, it probably would not have happened. I started working with an agency in this part of the United States, and they contacted me. Claire Simon, who does the casting for Chicago Fire, as well as a lot of the big Chicago projects, reached out and wanted to see me. I went up there and did the audition process. The first time she wanted to see me, I couldn't go audition in person because I had a conflict. So I sent a self-tape. That didn't work out. Then my agent called 2 weeks later, and he was like, Claire wants to see you again. No matter what's on your calendar, erase it. You are going to Chicago. We don't care. We don't want any excuses because she doesn't call again. And she definitely doesn't call 2 weeks later unless she really wants to see somebody. So I went up there and I booked Dr. Mayberry. I have to tell you, the studio up there is fantastic. And I'm
surprised that they even shoot a lot of stuff in Chicago. I wouldn't expect that.
Well, you know, it all goes back a number of years to when Schwarzenegger was governor of California, and he got rid of tax incentives. And I know he was part of the industry for many years, as we all know. And I think his thought process was probably along the lines of, you know, they've had these tax incentives for a while. We're going to take them away, and production will remain here because it's going to be too difficult for them to, you know, go all these other places. Unless they really need to for, you know, location filming. But we all know now that didn't happen. And
we have the same exact problem here in Arizona with our with the tax incentive issue, where the local government just doesn't see how important it is to bring the filming community here into Arizona, and the money it brings in, and the you know, the big pump to the economy. It's absolutely crazy, but the even crazier thing is how many people are bailing on California now. It's like a mass exodus. So many people are, especially actors, everything, are just.
Now, are you referring to bailing because of the recent pandemic, or?
I think, you know, it's yeah, it's everything, but you can't tell me that a lot of the issues that you're talking about, you know, aren't part of that. You know, people wanting to leave California.
Well, the hubs, let's face it, the hubs are in place now. Hubs meaning like Atlanta,
New Mexico,
New Orleans, New York, Chicago, Raleigh. I mean, there are all these various areas now where a lot of filming is happening and where studios have been set up. And that's never going to change at this point. I mean, that has been put into motion and will remain, even though incentives have now gone back to California. It's still, you know, you've got all this filming happening in all these places now. So in my opinion, California made a mistake, and that has led to industries being created in all of these various areas. There were tax incentives for Kentucky. When I first came back to Kentucky, tax incentives were still in effect for films that had already been approved, but the tax incentives have been taken away. So as these films complete, there are no tax incentives going forward, which is unfortunate because Kentucky is a very beautiful area with a very interesting landscape that you don't really find in a lot of places.
I used to go visit my grandparents in southern Indiana, and they were way down at the bottom of Indiana, so we'd go into Kentucky a lot. And so when you say the landscape, I think of all the interesting people I had seen there, because there's a lot of characters in Kentucky.
There are a lot of characters everywhere, but there are definitely a lot of characters in Kentucky. And look, I grew up in southeastern Kentucky, in Hazard, Kentucky, in the middle of nowhere, in the mountains. Very beautiful, very isolated area. I basically spoke like this until I was about 12 years old. So, you know, and it was a very interesting, very different way to grow up. And, you know, it's probably part of the reason I love to travel so much, because I grew up in a very isolated area. You know, now I've been to 23 countries in every state in the U.S. except for 2. And I've always loved to travel. And I think that's probably part of the reason, is because I kind of grew up in the mountains in the middle of nowhere.
What are the 2 that you haven't been to?
It's Oregon and Alaska. And people ask me all the time, they're like, well, you know, how come you never went to Oregon? You were in California. Well, California is a very long state. So if
it takes a long time to get there.
You know, if you're in Southern California and you go up to like the Bay Area, I mean, that's a huge trip right there. So to go on up to Oregon, and whenever I went up to Washington and Seattle, I always just flew. So it's still on the list. I would love at some point, when we're safer with flying, to fly out to Portland. And then for my 50th state, I would love to, once cruises start happening again, take an Alaskan cruise to tip off all 50.
Chad, don't get on boats.
I don't got boats either.
I can swim. I got, you know.
Did you ever
Nope,
see
there's
Jaws?
the ocean that'll eat you. Nope.
Yeah, did you ever see Jaws? I think you're going to need a bigger boat.
The whole anniversary and everything. I actually watched it again recently, and I had not seen it in years. And so it was very interesting to see that film again. And I still remember the scene when I was a kid and watched it, and it scared me to death when the guy's head popped out of the bottom of the boat. And of course, now when I watch it, you know, it doesn't have the same effect, but I remember going back to when I was a kid and throwing everything that I had around me everywhere when that happened.
You didn't hitchhike when you were 5 years old, though, did you?
No.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that.
I don't think I hitchhiked when I was 25, but but you know what I wanted to tell you though about getting back to Chicago Fire for a moment. So living in California for so many years and working in the industry there, I didn't know what to expect when I went up to Chicago to film. And I have to tell you, it was so well done. They were really on top of things. It was like clockwork, and I was very impressed. And you know, I've worked a number of shows in Chicago and a number of projects in Chicago, and they've all been really good experiences. So you know, kudos to Chicago for doing it right.
Now, did you have to go downtown? I mean, okay, so in my head, I'm picturing you going like downtown Chicago, like Nakatomi Tower or something, which is in California, yes, I know. But is it like a big tower building with, you know, lots of different executive rooms, or what kind of building is it?
There's a studio that's set up in Chicago, and well, first of all, so Claire Simon's office, that's the casting. It looks like something out of an, so it's Chicago has great architecture, right?
Sure.
So you go to this place, it looks like something out of an architectural magazine. It's really just really nice. And you know, not that the offices in LA aren't nice, but this was nice in a different way. It was they brought in designers to create this like casting office.
Yeah.
And the studio itself was, you know, is very interesting because they had, well, I'll give you an example. So Yuri Sardarov, who played Otis, who I was working with because I played Dr. Mayberry, his doctor, and nicest guy. So when we were sitting waiting to film, they had us waiting in the bar. Okay, normally, and this bar is a recreation of an actual bar in Chicago that they started out filming at, and then they basically built it. Normally, when you walk into a set, you've got 3 walls and no ceiling. And that's so they can have room to place things, place lights on. They didn't do that here. It's a complete set, just like you were actually inside the bar with the ceiling, with all 4 walls.
That's awesome.
Like you're there. It was so cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
You'll have to make a trip to Kentucky and do the whole bourbon tour.
I want to so bad. Like that is a bucket list, is to do that. That it really is.
If here's what I say: if it's on your bucket list, you got to find a way to do it.
It's kind of hard right now. Are they even doing things like that?
Well,
I doubt it. Right? Most likely
yeah,
not.
And to be honest with you,
moonshine kills all
I
COVID.
don't know the answer to that question.
That's why I'm not sick.
I can tell you this: the governor of Kentucky recently closed down the bars again for 2 weeks.
That
And
motherfucker.
yeah.
Son of a.
He took away your biggest pleasure.
Well, we don't have the bars are shut down here too.
Well, yeah. I mean, in California, it's like everything's kind of shut down right now. And you know, hopefully you guys will be back on track soon. Look, I have a friend who just flew out there this morning, and I have friends that flew out there recently, and they're flying back to North Carolina. Well, they're probably back at this point. They flew back today, and it's just hard right now. Tough times.
Definitely.
Especially here in Arizona, where we seem to be #1 in coronavirus as much as possible.
Are you guys really?
We were for a while. I don't know if we still are. Yeah, but we were for a while. They reopened us and then shut us down again because of it. So we've been shut down since.
And that's the hard thing. It's like it's when you feel like things are getting better, and then there's this sudden realization that they're not. And that's to me, closing things down and then opening them up and then closing them down again is harder than if they just close them down for a good while.
Yes, I concur.
Yeah. So I want to talk to you a little bit about your experiences on Moneyball. What was it like on that film?
Well, that wasn't a great experience for me because I worked 2 days on Moneyball with Brad Pitt, and the scenes that I did not make it into the film. So this happens in my industry. You
get paid anyway, though, right? Because you did the work.
Well, I did the work. It's listed on IMDb, but it's uncredited. And it's just really you can't really do anything about it. It's not up to you. It's up to the producers, directors, and the powers that be. Unless you are a producer or have a big controlling factor in a project, it's not up to you what ends up in and what doesn't.
But
so who'd you get to work with?
I got to work with Brad Pitt. Let's see, Brad was there.
Does he wear deodorant?
Pardon?
Does he wear deodorant?
That's what I was going to ask, is if he was stinky. There's a huge rumor.
No.
There's a huge rumor that he stinks.
So it was Brad Pitt, Robin Wright, and it was the airport, and they had actually rented Ontario Airport, half of Ontario Airport, to do this, spend a huge amount of money, and
you can tell
we ended up filming for 2 days, and then when you see the final project, the final film, they used a small number of seconds. I mean, so all of that money and all of that work that went into it, just
that's gotta kind of. It's not so much. Yeah, I got paid anyway because I did my job. It's not so much the time and effort. For me, it would be like, oh, I did a good job. I really delivered. I felt great about that, and then nothing. Like, you don't get to see the final product.
Like,
I mean,
you and your whole family go to the movies, and you're like, "Here comes you." They fucking cut me out.
Cut me out. Those bastards. I still make some stinky ass Brad Pitt for 2.5 hours, and you cut it.
You have to realize it's part of this industry, and you have to be okay with it. Otherwise, you're doing the wrong thing. I mean, if I got granted, and that's a little bit different than just the auditioning process itself, but you just have to realize these things happen and you have to go on to the next thing.
Sure. I'd be like, come on, man. I was so good.
You don't actually know you get cut until you watch the movie, right?
Most of the time you don't. Yeah. You don't know what's going to end up in.
I rented out the theater for all my friends and family.
Yeah, you don't get a good luck on your future endeavors email when you get cut out of a movie, huh?
What's really interesting though is sometimes like I've worked on projects where I've said to them, hey, can I try something? And you just do something completely different that's not in the script at all. And you never know, and then you see it in the end, and they kept that, they use that, and
see, that's that feeling. You can see it in your face. You're like, I felt so good.
That's me, motherfucker. I'm like 20 feet tall.
Well, it does feel good because you feel like you added a bit of creativity that that people enjoyed and people liked enough to actually put in a final product. Yeah. And it does make you feel good.
Did you get to touch Brad Pitt? Did you get to rub his back?
I did not touch Brad.
Did you at least rub against him on accident so you have like Brad Pitt smell on you?
Hey, rule number one.
He
don't
walked
touch
in.
Brad.
He walked in his path and just went like that to just get the essence of Brad.
He sucks it in. He blows it in a bag, zip ties it up,
Rule number two. Don't
sell it
touch
on eBay.
Brad.
Rule number 3: don't cut in front of Jonah Hill in catering.
Oh,
Damn.
isn't he really? Didn't he lose a lot of weight?
Oh, he did. Yeah, he did. He looks fantastic now.
Yeah, he does.
But
He's probably unhappy too.
so
What?
oh, go ahead, Chad.
Our friend Brian had to take off for a second. He'll be back after a bit. But he has another podcast. One of the questions that they always ask that I love to hear is, do you have a worst audition nightmare? Like, tell us your this is the worst audition story.
Well, you see, I was on Moneyball sitting next to Brad Pitt.
I will tell.
And my zipper was out. My
Oh my
junk
God.
fell
Okay,
out.
So now we go after I tell this story. Let's talk about some happy things. To
Yes,
bring
yes.
back
Then
the
we'll
other-
go on to
Of
happy.
course.
Like, oh my God,
We'll
I
move
wanna
on
hear
to your
alcohol.
favorite one after that.
So yeah, worst audition ever was at a casting studio, Ocean Park, which closed recently. I heard. I think COVID pushed them over and they closed down, which was sad to hear. This was for Toyota. It was a big commercial, and I got the information from my agency for the audition, and I went, and I was a bit excited, a little bit apprehensive because they were looking for dancers. I'm mainly an actor. I can sing, I can dance, but it's like, okay, I'm like, what's gonna happen here? So I went, and I knew I was in trouble when we walked in to sign in, and the guy said, okay, so I'm going to pair you up into 2 guys and 2 girls, and you're going to go in and see the choreographer for 15 minutes, and then we're going to send you to the director and producer. And I'm like, oh, okay, all right,
These
all right.
bitches, that was good. I'm out.
So the girl, who was amazing, by the way, that they put me with, I asked her, I said, so are you a professional dancer? Like what he was just saying, it sounded like they're like, and she goes, oh yeah, she goes, I work in Vegas. Like she was a showgirl in Vegas. Okay, so
I can't compete with that. That ain't even fair.
So then she says to me, she goes, don't worry, she goes, you'll be great. She goes, you watched the video they sent last night, right? And I'm like, video?
Uh-oh.
There was a video, and she's like, yeah, they sent a video with the choreography so we could learn it, so that when we come in and work with the choreographer, we'll know what we're doing. And I'm like, oh, video. So we go into the room, right? And I have to say, the 2 girls really knew what they were doing, but the other guy that was with the other girl also looked like a deer in the headlights. So we go in, and the choreographer is like, and he starts taking us through all this stuff, which they had all seen the video for and had been working on since the night before, and I knew nothing about. So I'm trying my best to get all this down. And yes, and
You're like solo looking in a bad jazzercise club, man.
so we go through it, right? And then we go into the other room where the director producer, I mean, it's the cameras, the people from the agency. I mean, it was like, oh my God. And so we go in and we go through, and she tells me, she's like, just watch what I'm doing. Just do what I do. She was trying to help me.
It's not that easy, though.
And
Can I just tie a rope to your arms, your legs?
exactly. So we go in and we start going through it, and I swear I just know that this tape is out there to this day, and people are watching it laughing, like
You should add for, hey, can I get a copy of that after this is all done?
Exactly. So somehow I made it through the first time. Like we went through the whole song and the choreography and everything. And the parts where we spun around and everything, I spun around really quick so I could see what she was doing. And we finished. And he said, all right, that was good. Now, guys to the front, girls to the back, we're going to do it again. So I think I got about 15 seconds into it. And then it was like an episode of Lucy. I don't know what I did. I don't remember what I did. That was like the second shark on the Katy Perry live
Left shark.
It was like I was just doing something,
great.
and it had nothing to do with
what was happening.
That was planned. So that was my worst audition ever. And I just left thinking like, why? And to this day, I do not know what happened and why I didn't receive the video that I was supposed to receive the night before. Oh well.
Well, it doesn't sound like you or the other guy got it. Like they were kind
They
of
only sent it to the chicks.
to the wolves. Like
I know. I think both girls probably ended up in there. I think the girl that I auditioned with, I'm sure she probably did. She was right on with the whole thing. But
was it familiar? Was it anything familiar? Like like Annie, or was it like during the audition? I mean, was it something maybe from a past movie or musical or any? Did you have anything?
Like you did the salsa, it was like salsa dancing or something.
Yeah, like
no, they were doing all of these like just various moves and stuff, which maybe if you were a trained dancer, you might know when he was calling out those steps or those things, like he was calling out things as he was showing them, and he was like, okay, now blah blah now blah, and yeah.
You just panic sprinkler. You stop. You're like, oh shit, and you just start fucking doing the sprinkler because you're panicking.
You start rolling the dice.
Yeah. You're doing the dice thing too much.
I'm picturing Richard Simmons up there just
He starts
All right,
sweating.
One good one, ladies.
Sweating to the oldies.
Oh my god.
Oh man.
Oh, that's terrible, man. Well, thank you for sharing that story.
Well,
That's
there
awesome.
you go. But then you know what? I did another audition one time. This was for 1,000 Ways to Die, and I just remember coming out of that audition and thinking, like, that was awful. And I actually, and I swear this is true, I called up a friend from the car and I said, I'm definitely not getting that. And then I booked it. So you never know. You never know what they're looking for.
That was such an awesome show. So what episode did you get to do?
Oh my gosh. I played Lenny, who was running a Ponzi scheme. It's so crazy because one, they're all based on true stories.
Mm-hmm.
And two, it has a huge cult following, which I did not know about until I did the show. So when I'm out and about and people like recognize me, it's usually from one of two things. It's from Chicago Fire or from 1,000 Ways to Die.
And not from Moneyball.
No, not from my team that was that. No. And when I went to do that show, I did not know quite what to expect. And I remember going in and thinking, like, I'm going to give this character 3 dimensions. And I remember the director saying to me after the first take, he was like, Dwight, he was like, I know what you're trying to do. He goes, but no, he goes, don't try to give this guy any glimmer of like niceness. I'm like, oh no, I wanted to build him up. And he's like, no. He's like, listen,
you're going to die.
Yeah. The audience wants to hate him from the very first second, because then they'll feel good when he dies. So I was like, okay.
So how was your death in that episode?
So my death in that episode was, so Lenny was running a Ponzi scheme. The feds got tipped off. He got tipped off that they were coming to raid his office. So he and his secretary started trying to shred everything. He gets all nervous and he would drink these boba drinks. You know, they have the little boba balls in them.
Yep.
And he had a buckyball sculpture on his desk. At one point, he gets mad and he's so frustrated. He takes the sculpture and throws it, and 2 of the magnetic balls went into his drink, and he drank them both. So, if he had drank 1, he would have been fine. But because he drank 2, they basically did this.
Oh.
And they just tore everything up.
They tore everything up, and Lenny didn't make it.
Oh.
No.
So awesome.
I'll tell you a little tidbit though. They filmed 2 episodes a day, and mine was the second episode of the day. So the first episode that they filmed involved all these insects, and they couldn't get them all out of the studio. So we came to film.
That's brutal.
Filming, like every once in a while, you would see like these like critters, like you know. And I think if you watch the episode, you can even see like one of the flying insects at one point go by. That's what that was from.
That's hilarious. Out of all those episodes I ever watched, the only one I ever remember is the Russian who was having sex or something, and a badger tore his penis off, and he bled to death out in the middle of nowhere. And his buddy and another girl were there. So, and he still got.
I know why you remembered it.
Oh, bled to death. I'm thinking that's a horrible way to go.
I don't know. 2 magnets going like this throughout your body is probably pretty rough too.
Yeah, that can't feel real good.
At least you still had your appendage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Supposedly they don't sell buckyballs anymore, partly because of situations like that. I don't know. We should look that up. Is that true? Somebody told me that.
Well, I can look it up. Is there any change in the process from going from doing an audition for like a movie versus something that's like based on true events or a reaction or
you know, every audition can be a little bit different. One thing I can tell you for certain is there's been a change in the process recently because of the whole pandemic situation. Most auditions now are self-tape. And hopefully it's going to go back to being in the room again with the casting directors on a regular basis, but that hasn't happened just yet. In some ways, it's good for me right now because I'm in Kentucky, and that allows me to better compete with projects like in New York or Chicago or Atlanta or even back out west. But there's always an advantage to being in the room because then the casting director, or if the producer and director might be in there with you, can kind of try different things to see how you work out. Whereas if you send a self-tape, that's it. You got that one.
Yeah, that one shot.
So they don't do it like over Skype with you? It's just you and a camera?
Well, that does happen as well. Yeah, I do. You know, you can end up doing Skype or you know, using the various services. Zoom, for instance, has become a big thing. I never used Zoom before the pandemic, and
Zoom's
now I
awesome.
can't even tell you how many times I've used it.
You could still buy buckyballs.
You can. Okay.
216 balls is $25.
Wow.
You can get them from the Buckyballs website.
Just don't swallow them.
Just one. If you are, just do one.
Yeah, if you are going to use the day. No, I don't even recommend that. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't try it. Don't try this at home.
It'd be kind of cool. You had a magnet, and you're like, I don't know.
So which way do you prefer? Do you prefer doing it Zoom versus the Handycam? Because in my mind, like trying to audition in just the camera and yourself, I would be worried that it's going to come out like an 80s, early 90s dating video. I'm Tom, 35, like long walks on the beach, like.
Welcome, Tom.
You know, you get used to doing it after a while, and you just, you know, it's just a process. And it's just very different, though. I mean, auditioning in person is always going to be very different than auditioning on tape or video. And
You know, like on Zoom.
Pardon?
Wouldn't it be easier on Zoom?
Well, if they do Zoom, but see, they're only going. You have to keep in mind. Usually, they're only going to go to a situation like that if it's callbacks or if because they're seeing so many different people, so they just can't do. You know, usually with casting, it's like they're looking at the first 3, maybe 5 seconds of something to figure out if you are right for it. Unless they have, you know, they know you and they've called on you, then that's a different situation. And but with the general auditioning process, they've got hundreds, if not thousands, and there's no time to do Zoom for all those.
Unless they want to see you dance, and then Zoom is on, baby.
Have you ever went to go do an audition, but you didn't really want to do it, so you made sure you
Bombed.
Yeah, like you went and you had your
No,
shirt down
never,
low and you made sure
never,
like your
never,
chest
never,
hair was
never.
out.
No, if I take the time to do the audition, then it's going to be as good as I can make it, so that I'm happy with my work and happy with myself. Otherwise, I would just decline the audition. Yeah.
Might be fun to go in one.
Not even if it was a friend who was like, "Hey, I got this personal project I want to do. It's this little side thing," and you're just kind of like, "I'm not really into this," and he's asking for that, you know, that homie hookup. That.
Well, if it was a friend, they would. I'm sure they'd probably be like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?"
I don't know. There's some people out there that'll try and grasp at anything they can.
I don't know. I would first of all, if it was a friend, I would, if I was going to do the audition for the project, it would be the absolute best professional audition I could do for that project. Otherwise, I just wouldn't do it. I don't know. I've never attempted to do a bad audition. Now, like the Toyota situation, it can certainly happen, but I wouldn't.
Yeah, but it wasn't your intention to go in there bad. You just
no.
They kind of shit the bed on helping you prepare like they should have.
Yes. Yeah.
I had a friend set me up like that for an audition, but the chick was ugly, so I had to decline. I was like, nope.
For that porn?
Yeah.
Oh.
Can't do it, buddy. What's your most favorite audition ever that you ever did? Whether you got the part or not, what was your, like, you went in, you auditioned, and you were like, maybe you didn't even feel like, oh, I nailed it, but you just thought, God, that was so much fun.
Oh gosh, that's see, it's easier to pick out the ones
To remember the bad ones.
as compared to the ones that were fantastic. Because I've had a number of them that have been fantastic. Gosh, let me think for a second.
You don't get asked that question often, huh?
No. It's usually more along the lines of like, oh my God, what's your really bad audition? I don't know. Nothing comes to mind. I mean, certain things stand out just because of the eventuality of the project, like auditioning for Claire Simon's office for Chicago Fire. Yeah, I mean that was a fantastic experience. That one's hard. Yeah, I can't.
You'll have to get back to us another day.
Exactly. I'll email you.
That's a tough
It
one.
was this time. You'll remember at about 3:00 this morning.
Yeah, that's exactly what
3 a.m. Oh, you know what I should have said. But see, now I'm preparing you. Now I'm preparing you for the next time. That's why I like to ask those deep track questions.
All right.
You ever walked into an audition and be like, fuck, I'm auditioning against him again? Or, holy shit, I can't believe he's here auditioning for the same part that I am.
Well, listen, you do end up seeing the same people a lot of times because, you get fit into a time. And exactly. And you say hi and everything. And that's actually, that's not so bad. It's a big town. Like, I'm speaking of LA at this point. It's a big city, small town. So it's a big city with a lot of people, but yet there are a number of regular working actors that you generally run into over and over again. And it happens more, at least in my case, with commercials and the commercial world than with film and television, because that can be a little bit more varied. Because when a role goes out for television or film, they'll, especially now, they will try to vary the possibilities and see, what magic might happen. But with commercials, it's usually they're looking for something very specific. And so when they're looking for that something that's very specific, then you get like a certain group of people that you generally tend to see. Yeah.
Who's your top 3 favorite that you've ever worked with?
Oh my gosh.
Not Brad Pitt, he stinks.
Not Brad Pitt because he stinks.
No, you know what? I really would say working with Brad Pitt was a fascinating experience, and I'm glad that happened. I wish that could have ended up in the final project, but it was still a great experience. Working with Yuri in Chicago Fire was fantastic, just because he was such a nice guy, and everyone up there were just great to work with. I worked on a project called the Deported, with Talia Shire and Nick DiTuro, and I did not know that I was going to be working with Talia until the day of. Wow. I'm sitting in hair and makeup, and this lady's sitting next to me, and we strike up a conversation, and she's super nice, and I had no idea who she was. And
what are you doing here? I'm the co-star. I'm the co-star.
So
want to get dreams later?
So the guy finishes her hair, and he reaches down on the shelf, and he pulls out 2 DVDs, and he says, would you mind? I just loved you in both of these. And she's like, oh, of course. She takes them and she starts signing them, and I'm looking, and it's Rocky and Rocky 2, and I'm like, oh my God, this is Talia Shire. And so
then you started fangirling out, huh?
Yeah, well, exactly. And I will tell you, in working in the industry for years, where I tend to fan out, so to speak, when I meet someone, are people that I know from my childhood. So, for instance, when I met Barbara Eden, Jeannie.
That'd be huge.
Oh Jeannie.
I know what you did that night.
So
in the whole time you pictured her looking like Jeannie, huh?
Well, you know what? I will say this. She still looks amazing.
Yeah, she does.
She really does.
Still.
But I grew up, watching like these episodes of Jeannie, and so
see if you can see her tummy.
I still dream of Jeannie. She was great, man. The costume, the bottle, that TV show was a great show.
Another instance of where I was sort of, I guess, a bit flabbergasted to the point that I was not my usual self was I ended up, oh my gosh, I went to a party. Ian McCullen was doing a show in downtown LA, and there was a party at the place that they had met up in the hills, and Patrick Stewart came. Was like
when he would have been shaken.
Captain Picard, Star Trek. And
did you have him say "make it so"?
What's that?
Did you have him go say "make it so"?
No, because so I get my food, I sit down on the couch, and he gets his, and he comes and sits down on the couch with me, and we say hi and stuff, and I could not think of what to say. So he probably thought I was the most awkward person because I'm just sitting there eating, thinking like, oh my God.
Probably like, thank God he didn't ask me about fucking Star Trek.
Well, exactly. But it's not. That's an unusual situation for me. Usually, it's like people, they're working in the industry. Yes, some of them are famous and are very talented. Some of them are famous and not talented. That's a whole different story. Huh?
That's me right there. Nearly famous, not talented. Yeah,
So-
Sir Patrick Stewart would be one.
Very
that
talented.
I mean, just
Very talented.
amazingly
Yeah.
talented and really hard to
Call me number one.
yeah,
Call me number one.
talk to. I mean, with Xavier and playing just so many good Picard and just man, that would be tough to sit next to him and just
But I
keep it cool, man. Keep it cool.
But I have met like a lot of people, and I usually don't have that issue. But for some reason, like
Sure.
with him or with
It's
Mark
Captain
Keaton,
Picard.
it's like
It's understandable.
Yeah, that's Professor X, man. That's real deal. That's
Yeah,
that's
Could've said,
next
I
level.
love the way the light gleams off the top of your head.
oh.
No, Captain Picard is awesome.
Yeah, that is cool.
He is, and he does this amazing show during the holidays where he plays Scrooge. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that.
Mm-mm.
I've heard of it and I've
Yeah.
never seen it.
Yeah, really good, really good.
He's just such a good actor. A lot of theater, a lot of everything. He's very well rounded. And
He
a great,
is.
everything that anybody I've ever seen interviewed or talked about him has always had incredible and great praise to say about what a gentleman and kind soul he is.
Exactly. He's a nice
awesome.
person, and he's very talented. And those are the people that you like to see succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Spill ketchup on him.
I'd be that guy. I'd be so nervous. I'd dump my Dr. Pepper in his lap or flick a fry with some ketchup. And I'd be like, dude, I'm so sorry, man.
You go to open the packet and it squirts. And you're like, oh no! And just watch the drop go right onto like his shirt.
It's like slow motion.
Yeah. No! I'll try to grab for it.
He died.
Oh, yeah. Patrick Stewart. Wow, that's an honor. That's great.
Yeah.
Any others that have ever kind of put you awestruck like that, or?
No, I mean it's more or less like just people that from my childhood, because when you work in the industry, you get used to
Sure.
seeing people and working with people, but yet there's just something about meeting people, like when I met Florence Henderson. It's another show that I watched episodes of when I was a little kid, and there's just something about that's you go back to, you can't help it. It's just like, oh my gosh,
that make believe area in your childhood where you're like, because it's so make believe and you're so deceived before you grow up and you're like, wait, that wasn't real. That's not really you. But even as an adult, you meet them and your brain is still like, hey, wow, that's Bo and Luke Duke. I mean, that's
oh,
that's
he's going with the whole hazard thing. I knew
Sure. But it's with anybody, that's what I grew up on. I watched a lot of Dukes of Hazzard, and it'd be hard to meet Michael Knight and not be like, hey dude, where's Kit? You know what I mean? It's just your childhood growing up.
Yeah. And it's interesting because you just made me think about something. When I watch movies now, like I tend to see them with a different eye, because I've worked in the industry for a while now, and so you're thinking, like, when they're doing that scene, like things that you notice, various things, industry things like the sound or the video or something that shouldn't be there, or something that was off, or something that didn't match, or that there are all these people behind them while they're having this very quiet scene, but you realize like all the stuff that's going on the other side of the camera and behind that. But yet still to this day, when I go back and I watch stuff from my childhood, it's like you kind of see it through those eyes still somewhat. It's like you can't escape from it.
Right. Yeah, no, I totally get it. That's awesome. What is your favorite genre or movies? Like, do can you not watch them anymore because you are so familiar with behind the scenes stuff? Has it ruined
I
it?
can
Or
absolutely watch them. And what is really fantastic for me is when I get so caught up in a film or a television show that I forget that I'm watching. It doesn't happen that often, but when it does, you can believe me that that project goes to the top of my list. I've got to see it again. Because
so like Dumb and Dumber? No, no, not a top three. No. What would be like a top three? What would be those top three movies that you forgot you were watching and you were like, wow, that was
oh my gosh.
amazing.
Well, like movies like The Godfather or like Star Wars. You know, I'm even though I have not had the opportunity to do a big science fiction film, I would love to because I love science fiction, love that genre. And so seeing things like that, which I just completely get caught up in, and you just get taken away for a while.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic experience, and I always love to see films like that on the big screen as compared to in the home, and because you just, especially when it's a movie like Star Wars, and I know, you know, some of the special effects in there are not like, we've come a long way in that period of time since that was created.
Sure.
But still, the movie was just so fantastic in so many ways that, yeah, you just get totally caught up in it and just swept away for a while. And I love that.
Yeah, not me. I hate Star Wars.
Oh, no, you don't.
Nobody hates Star Wars.
So are you one of those actors that likes to watch the things you've done, or are you like some of them that don't want to watch your performance?
I do watch the things that I do just because I like to learn from it. It's sort of like, you know, if you played like a football game and you go back and watch and see what you did and learn from that.
See the way I walk right there? Hell yeah.
But I have to say, I don't necessarily love watching myself, but I do it. And some people can't. They can't watch themselves, but I do it because I want to see what I did, learn from it, maybe take something from it that I can use in the future. But it's a weird feeling watching yourself, because for me, like when I watch myself in a performance I did, I get thrown back to that for a moment, you know, and I like, you know, think about like what I was experiencing at that moment when I was that person or that character. And for me, when I'm playing a role, I am that person. And then when that role is finished, I let it go. But I try to envelop myself as much as possible in that role and in that character. And sometimes I watch myself and I'm like, is that me? But
I should have been Batman. Damn it. Always be Batman. Whenever you can be Batman, be Batman. I was not doing it right there. I should have been Batman.
but it, you know, it, in all the characters that I play, there's a part of me in them, but then there's also, you know, it's a combination of bringing a part of me into it and then bringing to reality who this person is, and finding a point where you make it work.
Yeah. Adding that depth to it on a personal level.
Well, you want the character to be real. When I first started acting, I approached it as like just trying to be something completely different. Mm-hmm. You know, and like I would take a role and I would like try to just be that's completely different from what I am. But what I realized over time is at least for me, you know, and I know it's different for different performers, but for me, the process of bringing a bit of myself into it, as well as bringing to reality the way this character should be, and creating this combination that works for it, tends to work best for me, and making it real.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Love that.
When you're auditioning for a role, or you know, I'm assuming your agent sends you roles to audition that, you know, you might be interested in. What draws you specifically to to a role you want to audition for? Is there like certain characteristics in the character you look for, certain things that you want to try that you look for? Kind of what draws you to that?
It can be many different things, and I'm a type of actor to where, and if you look at the work that I've done, you'll see a lot of different things because I enjoy that. I love Meryl Streep because she does that. She's basically a chameleon. She just becomes all of these different characters. I like that.
Yeah.
When I read a script, I look for one, good writing, but then I also look for who this character is. Who is this person? And am I going to enjoy being this person for a while? Am I going to, and do I feel like I can really do this service? And so I look at all those things. I look at who's involved in the project, you know, and then of course there's the whole thing of, you know, what type of possibilities the project has. But I think more than anything else is, do I connect with this person? And if I feel like there's a strong connection there, then I want to be that person for a while. And that, yeah.
You ever like, okay, like when you played the doctor on Chicago Fire, did you ever go like, okay, I'm going to create a backstory. He just got in a fight with his wife. His daughter dropped out of college. I just found out that my son, you know, is a drug addict, you know, and you ever like made up your own backstory to give like a character more depth so that you're like, oh, like, you know, like to make the pain come out or make the, you know, you got to look frustrated or something. You ever, I just think that would be fun. Like, that's what I would do.
There can be a bit of that in projects, but you know, you do the work beforehand to make sure that you can do the work when you're there. So it's like whatever that work involves, and sometimes it does involve me thinking about, you know, a certain backstory. It can be different in different cases, but I will tell you this, that the work that I do for a role and for a character, I do put a lot into it until I feel like I'm there. And then when I go in and I'm actually acting and playing that role, all that work I let go, because at that time I am that person. So I have done the work to become that person. So when I was playing Dr. Mayberry, I wasn't thinking at that point like about backstory or about what. I was Dr. Mayberry when I was there.
You ever go like, Dr. Mayberry, where the fuck did they come up with that name?
You know, I will tell you this.
But
they did not come up with that name until I was booked.
Oh wow!
And so
they looked at you and they're like, "It's Dr. Mayberry." Hey!
Dr. Mayberry.
So when you say you're getting ready for these and you're doing your work and everything, and your back work and everything, describe that. Break that down a little bit more. Are you like, so for Dr. Mayberry is a perfect example. Were you pulling, you know, snippets and tidbits out of, you know, medical journals and looking up medical jargon? Were you studying, you know, encyclopedia or
no,
you know, words to help? Or
no, the only time that I would do that is if there were things in the script that call for me to, you know, you can believe if there's any medical jargon in the script that I'm going to know what all of that is. I'm going to look it up. I'm going to know how it's used. I'm going to know what it means. So that, you know, if I look at someone and you know, I say, you know, like, you know, I think his ACL is torn, you know, I'm going to know what an ACL is. I'm going to know what an ACL tear means. I'm going to know what kind of pain that would cause for someone. I'm going to know all this information so that when I say it, I know what I'm talking about. But I would not just go in and just look up general information. It would be specific according to what I needed to do. You know, I do spend time, like, for instance, you know, like when I book a doctor's role, or it's a specific type of thing, you know, I will go in and I will do like a little bit of research about it. And, you know, and even though, you know, I'm wearing what they're giving me to wear, which is, you know, supplied by the production, I'll go in and just like look through, you know, like photos of doctors and stuff, you know, and or even like listen to some interviews of doctors or talk to people that I know that are doctors. And it depends on what it is. You know, if you've got a lot of time, see, a lot of times you don't have a lot of time. You don't have that luxury. If it's film, you have more time. But if it's television, you usually don't. And if it's commercials, you definitely usually don't, because it's just, you know, very, very quick. So a lot of that depends too on how big my role is and how much time that I have.
Yeah.
You ever went, okay, do you ever go like, Dr. Mayberry? What does a Dr. Mayberry sound like? How should Hi, I'm Dr. Mayberry. Like, did you ever think about doing that role? Like, I don't think it should be a normal voice. I think they should sound like this.
No, you know, when I thought of Dr. Mayberry, I just wanted him to be very, you know, just very, very assuring, very calm, and you know, because I figured there's enough stress in the hospital and enough stress for people going to the hospital. So as a doctor, you want to try to assure them. And so I wanted to bring a calmness and a feeling that everything was going to be okay.
That's cool.
I like that.
Have you ever used the, I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV, pickup line?
Oh my God! You totally gonna use that.
Awesome.
I have said that. It was just fun to say.
So you're sitting in a bar, and I'm not a doctor, but I've played one on TV. Can I buy you a drink, lady, Missy?
No, you know what I do to my friends sometimes is I'll be out with friends, and this actually happens, and I'll be out with friends, and they'll be like talking to someone, and they'll be like, well, you know, my friend, he like was on Chicago Fire. He played Dr. Mayberry on Chicago Fire, and then I'll be like, oh, stop, no, you know. And then they're like, I'm a terrible wingman.
That's great. Here in my mind, I'm thinking, God, you know, thank God that Dr. Mayberry's not like a proctologist. You know, you got to schedule an appointment, and the doctor's like, why are you here today? Well, doc, as it turns out, purely research. I got this part, see, and
hold on, let me go get the Vaseline.
No.
As it turns out, I'm playing a proctologist, so research.
Oh, but you know what I did feel bad about? I was the one who sent Otis back, and then he ended up dying. I was so sad when I got
Yeah, your fucking your premiums just skyrocketed then, huh?
You know what's really cool though is they Chicago Fire actually did after Otis died on the show, they did a best scenes for Otis. Mm-hmm. And it was 2.5 minutes long, and my scene as Dr. Mayberry with him was in there. That was really nice.
That is cool.
Yeah. Dr. Death.
What is a dream, like what would be if you could play any superhero in the world, who would it be?
Moon Knight, Nightwing.
We all know who you'd play, Kyle.
I don't know. That's a real tough one. Because you know, I did play Green Lantern, but that was a voiceover, and that was for Six Flags. Nice. So I didn't get to be in front of the camera for that, but it was still really fun to do the voice.
Dodged a bullet on that one. At least you weren't Ryan Reynolds, right?
That is what you can use in the bar. You've been to Six Flags. You know who Green Lantern is? This fucking guy right here.
You could pull a Hal Jordan. I can see a Hal Jordan.
Brightest day, darkest night. I'm taking you home tonight.
You know, I would love to do a really fantastic science fiction film. You know, I'm a fan of so many different films, from Blade Runner to the Star Wars films to the Star Trek films.
Sure.
And even like, you know, the Marvel films. So if I ever had the opportunity to do that, that would be, I think that would be a lot of fun for me.
Space, like adventure, pirate style movies, space stuff,
Yeah.
sci-fi.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
It would certainly be interesting. I have done some science fiction projects, but they were on a smaller scale back some years ago. And so, you know, now that I'm, you know, doing larger and larger projects, I would just love to be in a big budget science fiction project.
Just remember, if you're on a starship, do not wear a red uniform. That means you're going to die.
Oh, I think we're losing him.
Over there.
Kentucky internet.
Yeah.
Kentucky internet. Is there anything you'd like to promote?
I think he's. Wait,
Damn it, man.
Yeah. We can't.
Damn it,
can't
man.
hear. I think we're losing him.
Yeah,
Beaming them up.
they're beaming him up. They're taking him to his next space adventure.
Picard.
We salute you, sir. Godspeed.
Damn, I was gonna ask him to give us his best medical advice from a doctor who's not a doctor but plays one on TV.
He says, you need to get that checked out. Stat. Damn, he's frozen.
Oh
He is
no!
frozen.
Damn it. You're right. His ACL.
Oh no, his ACL.
Damn it, man. Damn it.
How cool would that be, though? You're just sitting at a bar talking, someone's like, "Oh, my ACL, I tore it," and he like, "Oh yeah," talking about the procedure, and she's like, "How did you know? Are you a doctor?" No, but I play one on TV. He spins around and
And the
walks away.
ACL was the scene I did.
Yep. Just
And
spins
he's
around.
Maybe he'll try and come back on.
He spins
Oh
around
my
and he's
God.
like,
That was
Have
a
a good
fun
day.
interview, though.
That was great. Nah, he's awesome. That'd be so much fun.
At least he had a good sense of humor.
Yeah, I
He's
can't
I
just
still
imagine.
would have tried to brush up against Brad Pitt. I don't
he's just
care.
rolling
Or
with the
at least-
punches.
Or at least when you like follow him into the bathroom and see if he really has a big dong, like everybody says.
God.
Something. I mean, it's Brad Pitt.
Damn,
You
Brad, damn! Good for you, sir.
at least he's honorable. Like that's one thing I really like about Dwight Turner is that he's honorable. You know what I mean? Like he's not. He's despite all the questions we've asked and led him into, he won't talk bad about anybody else. He has nothing bad to say. He, you know what I mean? Like he's
He would
very,
not say Brad Pitt stinks.
yeah, and he has walked around it every time. He will not tell us whether or not Brad Pitt stinks.
That was
Well,
a hard-hitting question.
That is honorable. That's a good guy that
He
you
just looks
want
like he
on the
stinks.
set.
Oh, look,
Like in California, he looks like he stinks.
he's come back.
I'm back.
Good.
Hey,
Okay.
come
Hey,
back.
hey,
So-
Brad.
So we had
Yeah.
to do a different thing here. So I was using my phone. I'm not sure what happened. I couldn't get you back on that, so I'm on my laptop now.
All
No,
right.
he must have AT&T.
But I felt bad to leave you guys hanging like that, so I came back.
Oh, good.
We
We were
appreciate it.
hoping you were going to come back.
It was like you should have seen it. It was a flurry of activity, and which culminated in me running upstairs and like grabbing the laptop. So I've got the laptop on my lap.
Hopefully
So-
you didn't tear an ACL,
Yeah,
but
here we
you'll
go.
at least know how to fix it. Hopefully you didn't tear an ACL.
No. So where were we?
You were telling us. No, I forgot. I'm old. You
We're
were
talking
telling
about
us
sci-fi.
about sci-fi and,
Yeah,
and
so-
being able to
so-
do sci-fi.
Sci-fi, I think sci-fi would be like a lot of fun. So if that opportunity presented itself, I would certainly be interested. It's something that I haven't gotten to do for a big project, and I just think it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. No, I think that'd be a super fun. I've never done any acting or anything, but I would think that a production of something like that, because they get so big and all the props and all the, the fake new moon rocks or whatever the hell is around you and the creatures. And I think that'd be a really fun gig to be in.
Exactly. Yeah.
Don't wear the red shirt so you die.
Oh my God, Star Trek. See, I know what that is.
We know Picard wore one, and Scotty wore one in the original. But anybody else that wore one,
They were a goner.
they were goners.
Oh my gosh. You guys are making me think about different things. I ended up doing a project that went to Comic-Con, and I don't know, maybe that's part of why, like, I'm fascinated by all the sci-fi stuff, because being a part of that was a really interesting experience. And it was just such an odd way that it happened, because I'd never been to Comic-Con, had not really at that point had any major thoughts of going to Comic-Con. And I did a project called Outsourcery about a sorcerer that gets outsourced. And that project, it was
That's so funny. That's so funny.
And I played the mean boss that outsourced him. And
Sorcery is about a sorcerer who gets
Outsourced.
We have outsourced your job. Somebody else. Sorry about it, buddy.
I don't know
Exactly.
who
So-
thought that up, but that
It's
is
genius.
Isn't it genius?
It's
that
genius.
is genius.
Get this. Here's what's even more genius about it. So when years ago when I was getting my acting legs, I did a lot of student projects, which was a great training ground. I mean, I've worked with some fantastic teachers, such as Nina Foch, Margie Haber, but doing these projects for like USC, which is one of the best film schools in the world, was a great training ground. But this particular film was Cal State Northridge. And it was undergrad students. And I did it. It was a lot of fun to do. And the complete unexpected thing happened was that the film went to Comic-Con in San Diego, premiered at Comic-Con. We did a panel at Comic-Con, and this was in 2011, and it also got a nomination for Best Humor Film that year from Comic-Con. And so they VIP'd me for the entire Comic-Con. I got to go to all the parties, and for someone who was completely unprepared for Comic-Con, it was quite an interesting experience. I was completely exhausted at the end of it, but it was so much fun.
Yeah.
What smelled worse, Brad Pitt or Comic-Con?
It's okay to say Comic-Con.
It is.
Comic-Con.
We're well aware of that. But it's a very
I'll
going
back
to somewhere like San Diego Comic-Con, especially if you're not used to that kind of scene, it's very intimidating and overwhelming.
Well, yeah, and people had told me, like, I had some people tell me, like, oh, just be prepared. It's unlike anything else you've ever experienced, and they were right. It certainly was a fascinating and interesting experience. I would like to go back again sometime, but yeah, I mean, for people who have done it, and for the people out there listening right now who have been to Comic-Con, they'll know what I'm talking about when I say there's nothing else like it.
Nope.
It's true. I mean, there's really nothing else quite like it.
Well, and San Diego's the big one. San Diego's the daddy of them all. So to go to that one is definitely a different experience compared to going to the smaller ones, Colorado or Arizona or whatever. I mean, you got New York and then San Diego, and those are really the two big ones.
It's just, that I'm sure like that you walked in and like you got there and you're like, holy fuck, there's a lot of nerds here.
Well, there's a lot of people, and there's a lot of people in costumes, and
Did you go dressed up as Dr. Mayberry?
No, I wouldn't play Dr. Mayberry for a number of years. No, I did not go dressed up, because my role in Outsourcery, I mean, I was wearing a suit because I was playing like the boss, and so yeah, no, I just went dressed up like that for when we did the panel, and in fact, wait, no, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't even think I wore a suit for the panel.
You wore a tuxedo T-shirt.
No, but it was, you know what? It was a lot of fun, and it just goes to show you, you never know what's going to happen with a project. I did another project called The Gestapo versus Granny. It was a little short film, and that ended up being a finalist for HBO's Project Greenlight with Brad Pitt and Ben Affleck, and you just never know. I mean, both of those
Hey,
were expected.
I remember him. We were in Moneyball together.
Hey, Brad!
What? Here.
Wait, did I say Brad Pitt? I said Matt Damon and Ben Affleck.
Oh,
You said Brad Pitt and Ben
Did
Affleck. Yeah.
Did I say Brad Pitt again?
Yeah.
It's on my brain.
Hey, we're old friends from work.
That's
No,
a pickup
Matt
line right
Damon.
there. I was in the
Ben
movie
Affleck,
Brad Pitt,
Damon.
Moneyball. What's up?
Yeah, I
That's
stole
how you-
that from Thor Ragnarok. I can't lie.
From who?
The movie Thor Ragnarok.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when he comes out and Hulk and hey, we're old work friends, and that's great.
so did you get to meet Matt Damon and Ben Affleck? Or their names were just attached to what it was being sent to?
Exactly.
So
Bummer.
we have a question from the chat, and I want to know: is getting a TV gig really the golden goose as far as a working actor is concerned?
No, for me, I would say it's a. For me, it would be a really well-written dramatic project, a dramatic film, a really good dramatic role, and a really well-written piece. That would be the most exciting thing for me. I mean, I do both comedy and drama, and I work in film and television, voiceovers and commercials and some stage work. But film is the most exciting because you get to play more. And for me, that's a lot of fun. So whereas in the commercial world or television, you may have specific time limits. With film, you can take more time, and it's more about getting the scene right. And you can ask them sometimes, hey, do you mind if I play, or if I bring this idea? And almost every time they'll say yeah. And you normally don't get those same opportunities in the other movies.
Do you make sure you eat as much food as you can because it's free?
No. Although I feel like I've done that lately. Well, it's not free, but I feel like I've been eating as much as I can because of the pandemic thing and staying at home and not going to the gym.
So you said,
But I will say
you
this:
said that
it is fun to go to Crafty and sort of like indulge in all those snack foods that you really shouldn't eat. And sometimes on this projects, they'll have like some really really yummy food, some really good food.
Are these croissants free?
You ever take them home?
Stuff on it. Yeah, I was gonna say these croissants free.
No,
You start
I-
sticking them in a bag.
I
You just cut Ziploc-
never take them home. No.
Ziploc
This is
bags
why I
lined
would
in your
never be
shirt.
an actor, because this is all the shit that I would do. Hey, you guys gonna eat this, or can I take it home? Have you ever been on where there's a personal chef and you're like, I'd like crab legs and a filet mignon?
that's funny.
Surf and turf,
I
baby.
don't
Surf and
remember.
turf.
I don't remember Kyle showing up with a purse. Kyle's over there just filling it.
It's a man bag.
full of food.
Oh my
So
god!
you said that you do dramas and comedies. What is, in your opinion, the funniest movie made? The one that you go to, that's your laugh track. That's the one that makes you laugh every time. What's your number one funny movie to go watch?
Oh my gosh!
Blazing Saddles.
I've never seen that one. Is that one good?
Wait, which one did you say?
No, you said, "Oh my gosh!" I said, "I've never seen." That.
Oh.
Spaceballs.
That's a good one, but
You're sure
uh,
it's
I,
fine.
I don't know. There's so many. There are so many. It's easier for me to pick
Freddie got
my
fingered.
favorite dramatic, like our films, then
That movie's so funny.
What's that?
Freddie got fingered. The movie's fucking hilarious. It was way ahead of its time. Tell me it's not. I'm in a fancy restaurant.
Oh my gosh! You know what? I hate to admit it, but I will. I've never seen it, but now I'm going to have to see it.
What, sir?
No, you
It's
don't.
an
Your
all-
life is probably better off for not seeing it.
That is the greatest movie ever.
Sir, it is hilarious, but you cannot gain that time back.
Yes.
Dude, everything is awesome about that movie. He's got his cordless phone and he's got a tape recorder with a ring so that he looks cool in front of his chick.
That
I'm a
was
stockbroker.
approaching expiration date Tom Green right there.
No way. That movie,
Oh,
that movie-
But,
you have
okay,
to go watch
okay,
it.
so maybe an easier question would be what are like your top 3 movies, your funny movies that you really enjoy? What's your genre? What is some of the comedy that you're
oh my! Well, you know,
that you like to
like
watch?
well, I mean, there's some of the modern ones like Something About Mary and things like that. They're just so funny and have just such funny moments in it. But they're also, you know, some wonderful classics. And, you know, I very like my movie watching is like my music and like so many other things. Like I vary it and like just like I vary my roles, you know, and I like all these different things from different time periods, different genres. So it's so hard I don't know. It's just hard for me to pick out like even 3. Like there's just so many that I love.
If you could work with anyone, alive or dead,
Meryl
in the industry, Meryl Streep. There it is. That was easy.
Meryl Streep, yeah, I can tell you that right away because I just have such a really high respect for it's fascinating to me her ability to really just become these various roles and just be completely convincing.
So, do you have anything coming out that you want to promote?
Oh God! Well, the year started off really fantastic, and then the pandemic hit, and so many things have been placed on hold. So, you know, a couple of things happened to me this year that had never happened before, which was an interesting experience. One, I got booked for a high fashion runway show, which I've never done anything like that before. I don't really consider myself a high fashion runway model, but hey, you know what? I think it would be a fun experience to have that experience.
Hell yeah.
I do lifestyle modeling for products and for companies, but this is a whole different thing. So that was exactly
awesome.
So that was the first thing. That was the first project to go, and that was March 21st. So that one went down right at the beginning of COVID, and then the rest followed shortly thereafter. There is a series that stars someone who has starred in a couple of other well-known series. And if you go to my IMDb, go to imdb.me/Dwight Turner, you can see that I'm rumored for it. That's all I can really say about it at this point. We'll see how that goes forward now that things are starting to film again. I did a series last year called The Pact, which is going to be coming out. My understanding is this fall. There is a musical. That's the other thing that I've never done before. So I can certainly sing, but I had never done a musical. I was asked to audition for it. I declined the audition, and the casting director got in touch with me and wanted to know why I declined the audition. And I explained what my thoughts were. And he said that they really wanted me to audition. So I did. And I ended up landing the lead romantic role in this musical when, you know, I've never done a musical.
That's awesome. Okay.
Very interesting.
Question.
Yes.
What's better, West Side Story or Grease?
Oh, God, see, that's I love both of those for different reasons. One, Olivia Newton-John in Greek.
Yeah, but you got to pick one. One's better than the other. Which one is it?
God. Okay, if I had to pick, no, don't make me do it. Don't make me do it.
Sorry.
They're both fantastic.
Okay.
The musical has been a very interesting experience because not having that experience before working with that type of thing, I'm very, understanding of the acting part of it, but the musical side has been interesting because we've been doing it all by Zoom in the rehearsals until just recently. We had a rehearsal recently. We're going to have another one actually this Sunday. Will be our second in-person rehearsal. And because we cannot bring audiences in, so the composer is from New York. He had a show running off Broadway when COVID hit. And the writer-director, Vimarelli, he is award-winning. So it's got some weight behind it. But until we can have audiences in, what we're going to do is do a cast recording, and then we're going to do a live radio version of it. And then hopefully audiences will be able to come in at a certain point and we can put it up. There's a film that was supposed to go out to the California deserts and work on, and that's all on hold. And then there's another film that I did a teaser for that they're wanting to push forward. I'm gonna be meeting with them coming up soon over that. But it's been worst. I mean, let's be honest, worst year ever. I mean, it's just been the worst year ever. It's just been really frustrating. The year started off, and this is the truth. I told a couple of people at the beginning of this year, I'm like, I think this is going to be like one of the best years ever. And it's ended up being one of the worst years. It's just what it is. I mean,
disagree with that, sir.
It's just.
This has been a great year. I get to work from
1%er Kyle disagrees.
1%.
1%er
What
Kyle.
did they say? Wasn't Mad Max? Didn't Mad Max takes like the year was 2021?
It's weird that you mentioned that because I just watched it 2 nights ago.
Right? It's set in 2021, right?
Mel Gibson.
Wow, that's a great comedy.
I know. At the end, you're like, "What happened? What happened?"
Oh my goodness.
Well, it's at least you're still busy. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good to hear that you're still able to keep going and get a bunch of these auditions and staying busy. So that's awesome.
and I will say auditions are beginning to pick up. Like things are starting to happen again. It's really interesting because everything has changed and how the whole process is done now is changed. And we'll see where it all goes in the coming year. It's just going to be really, I think, a fascinating experience for everyone. I just want to go back and be working again because I truly love what I do. I mean, I'm the type of person and I really have. I've given up and canceled vacations because I booked a project. And to me, it was more fun to go work on the project than it was to go on the vacation.
Sure.
So, yeah.
All right, well, one last question as we wrap here. What is the best piece of medical advice you want to give the internet from a doctor who's not a doctor but plays one on TV?
Eat well and stay healthy and happy.
Fantastic. Couldn't say it better. Dwight Turner, I thank you for joining us tonight, sir. It's been a fantastic time. Thank you so much for
thank you for rolling with the punches and having a great time.
humoring us and rolling with the punches.
I my apologies for my camera going down there for a bit and then the shaky holding the laptop to finish it off, but I felt it was the least I could do for you guys.
Well, we absolutely
I hope you had fun.
That was awesome.
Yeah. Hope you had a good time. Yes, thank you, guys. Check out Dwight Turner's IMDb. Check him out in all of his upcoming projects. I noticed you didn't say the rumored one, so I won't drop it. But
yeah, and let me just say, if you want to be able to keep up with what I'm doing or see video clips or all that, go to dwightturner.com. It's the source for any news that's coming out, and as soon as I am able to talk about some of this stuff more, I'll put it on there right away.
Awesome.
All right. Awesome. Well, be on the lookout for more from Dwight. I mean, we're gonna have to have you back, and And if you ever get inklings of a role in a Marvel movie, let us know so we can campaign for you. So
Oh my God! If I ever do, I'm going to yell it out to the world.
so we can check one of
Please
those off
come
for you.
yell it out here.
Yes.
Yell it out here first.
So
all right.
Please.
Well, thank you
Mr.
guys.
Turner.
thank you.
very much.
Have a good night. Stay safe. Thanks for joining us.
Enjoy your night and your weekend, sir. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.